we are resurrecting a number about Louis Philippe, a man of all seasons. You could see him everywhere, but I don't know what happened to him. So in this kind of arrangement, we needed to know what's all about Louis Philippe. So we are saying today that Louis Philippe came to power in 1830, and the people expected him to raise the country called France. Our question says, why did the regime of Louis Philippe fail to revive the French glory between 1830 and 1846? When this man took political power after the collapse of Charles X, you remember Louis XVIII tried to work according to the constitution. Quote me clearly, he just tried. But when he was going to die, he called Count d'Artois. By the time, he wasn't called Charles. Count d'Artois. Louis XVIII was on his deathbed, and he told Count d'Artois, my brother, I'm going to die, but don't do the same mistakes King Louis XVI did. But after the burial, Charles said, I'm going to do the same things King Louis XVI did. These people were given a constitution. They were told to rule according to the 1814 constitutional charter. But they made the same mistakes. That led to the 1830 revolution in a country called France. And this led to the rise of a man called Louis Philippe. He was supported by power brokers by that time, like Adolf Thiers, a great historian of that time. Adolf Thiers, very wise man. He supported Louis Philippe. And by this time, people welcomed Philippe. And they had expectations. Since he was a king chosen by people, they expected him to work. But the hard question is, did he work? So we are saying Louis Philippe was the son of Philippe Eglite, the Duke of Orleans. And he voted for the death of his cousin, Louis XVI. He was a member of the Jacobins Club, but he fled to Switzerland and returned after the Battle of Waterloo that led to the defeat of Napoleon. So we are realizing later he became a king, but our question says, why did the regime of Philippe fail to revive the French glory between 1830 and 1846? Of course, they wanted to revive the greatness of a country called France, but the regime failed. Let us look at the key reasons. Number one, the too much expectation from the Frenchman as the first elected king. Since he was the first elected king, people had expectations from him. Democracy, freedom. But the man refused to work according to what they wanted. By this time, they rose up against him. So the fact that people had great expectations from him and it didn't work according to that, people rose up against him. Another one, the presence of the different political groups which had divergent, contrasting interests. It is said, by the time Philippe rose up, there were so many political groups. The Bonapartists, the glory seekers, these ones wanted to be led by someone from Napoleon Bonaparte's family. By this time, the legitimists wanted a king as it was before. The socialists wanted the workers to be given their rights. All of these wanted political power. They started challenging him. That's why he could not revive the French glory. because he had so many enemies around himself. So we are saying this man had to fail. Another one, Philippe's character, which was simple, economical. He could not pursue an aggressive policy to revive the glory. This man had a very simple character. He could sit in the same market with the peasants. He could move with his own umbrella in the middle of the road. By this time, some people are saying this man doesn't deserve to be a king. How can you sit in the same market with the peasants? This man at one time he was in exile. He realized that life was not easy in a foreign country. So he had to study the game of being economical, because becoming extravagant could not help him to live another day. In where? In a foreign country. So by this time, yes, sir. By this time, the man was what? Economical. He didn't want to waste government what? Money, because of the life he faced in exile. So some people looked at him as a man who doesn't deserve to be a king, because kings are known to spend a lot of what? Money. So the man had a very simple character. And some people refused to support his agenda, and that's why he failed to revive the French what? Glory. Another one, Philippe had a non-interventionist policy in the international affairs. In other words, he didn't want to interfere in the affairs of other countries. So it is this that explains why he failed to revive the French glory. Because other past leaders like Napoleon used to raise the name of a country called what? France, by attacking other countries. But this man had a non-interventionist policy, and this explains why he had to fail. Another one, he was a dictator. For example, he censured the press. When he censured the press, it meant by this time that other leaders who came before him, for them, they were like examples to other what? Countries. Like Napoleon at one time. But Louis Philippe censured the what? The press. He did not give freedom of speech to the people. That's why people could not support him. Another one, the fear of Philippe to annoy Britain made him to withdraw in affairs where Britain was involved. For fear of Britain, you remember at one time France had conquered Tahiti what? Island. But after realizing that Britain wanted the island, Philippe did what? He had to withdraw. And by this time, he lost the support of the key players in politics, like the Bonapartes, because he was a very weak man. You know, one man wrote and said that cowards die so many times before their real death. Where a coward sees a small insect and is going to call his mom altogether. So by this time, a coward dies so many times before his what? But strong men die only once. So by this time, the man feared to annoy Britain. Then Philippe over-relied on the middle class. Another issue that explains his failure to revive the glory. He over-relied on the middle what? Class. It couldn't be bad, but the middle class were few. And the peasants were the what? The majority. This made the peasants to rise up in large numbers. They supported big names like Vignac in the 1848 elections in France. And finally, Louis Napoleon Bonaparte, a man who was born premature but survived. He was born when he was 6 months, but he managed to do what? To survive. High level high-level tactics. Another one, we are like saying the increased popularity of the Bonapartists. We are saying the Bonapartists became so popular. Philippe made a strategic mistake. He brought back the remains of Napoleon. Of course, he was targeting politics since he wanted to become more popular. But when he returned the remains of Napoleon, people remembered the great days of Napoleon Bonaparte. They said we need at least someone from the family of Napoleon Bonaparte. And this explains why we are saying the man had to fail. People looked at a big name by that time, Louis Napoleon Bonaparte. Then the turning down of the Belgian candidate after the Belgian Revolution. We are saying today, after the Belgian Revolution, you remember in the Belgian Revolution, the Belgians went to Philippe and he told Philippe, we need your what? Your support. But you know what happened? Philippe refused for fear of the diplomats at where? At Vienna. Because the diplomats are the one that made the Dutch to control the what? The Belgians. But by this time, after the revolution, they succeeded under a man called Polignano, and later Leopold became a king. But what happened? They went to Philippe and told Philippe, okay, give us your son to be the leader of Belgium, because they wanted to associate with a great country. But he still did what? He refused it. The Bonapartists looked at him as a very weak man. And this explains why he had to fail to promote the French glory. Another one, the withdrawal of assistance from Mehmet Ali of Egypt. At one time, you remember, in the Greek War of Independence, the Sultan of Turkey went to Mehmet Ali and told Mehmet Ali, I need your support in the Greek War of what? Independence. On condition, I'll give you some territory. After the